In aviation, delays aren't rare, but few airplanes have been haunted by them quite like this one. It was supposed to be Boeing's next masterpiece, the ultimate long-haul twin-engine jet, a perfect balance of power and efficiency. Yet, over a decade later, it still hasn't carried a single passenger. So what went wrong? Why has the Boeing 777X, once hailed as the future of wide-body travel, become the world's most delayed commercial jet? And what does this mean for Boeing's future? The story of the Boeing 777X begins in 2013. Boeing was under pressure. Airbus had just launched the A350, lighter, quieter, and far more efficient, and airlines were rushing to place orders. Boeing needed an answer, and fast. Its solution was a radical reinvention of its best-selling widebody, the 777. The 777X would combine proven design with next-generation technology. A longer, lighter carbon fiber wing, the largest commercial engines ever built, the GE9X, and revolutionary folding wingtips to fit within existing airport gates. The promise was simple: unmatched range, power, and efficiency. Airlines loved it. Emirates, Lufthansa, and Qatar Airways lined up to buy dozens. Entry into service was set for 2020. Everything was going according to plan until the problems began. At first, they were small. Testing hiccups, supplier issues, minor software tweaks. But then, the engines, the mighty G9X, began causing headaches. The compressors needed redesigning. Components cracked under stress. Durability tests dragged on for months, then years. The first flight slipped to 2020, already behind schedule. And just as momentum returned, the world stopped. The pandemic froze global testing and crippled supply chains. Still, Boeing believed it could recover. But the real storm was just beginning, and it wasn't about hardware. It was about trust. After the 737 MAX tragedies, Boeing's relationship with regulators changed forever. The FAA, once confident in Boeing's self-certification system, now demanded full control. Every system, every test, every piece of documentation would be reviewed from scratch. Boeing hoped the 777X would be treated as a modification of the 777, but the FAA disagreed. The folding wings, new engines, revised control laws, and updated flight deck made it fundamentally a new aircraft. That meant starting over, a full certification program. Suddenly, what Boeing expected to be a quick approval turned into one of the most intense certification campaigns in modern history. Regulators weren't the only hurdle. The 777X itself began showing its limits. During structural testing, part of the fuselage failed under pressure. Engine mount fittings developed cracks in 2024, grounding the test fleet for months. And during flight trials, pilots reported pitch control issues that required software adjustments. Even the folding wingtips, an iconic feature, introduced new mechanical and software safety challenges. The FAA required multiple redundant locks to prevent any possibility of the wingtips folding midair. And those GE9X engines? Their durability and heat resistance tests had to be repeated multiple times, pushing certification further back. Each problem added weeks or months, and by the time Boeing fixed one, another appeared. To understand how bad this has become, let's look at the numbers. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was delayed by 3 years. The Airbus A380 about 2. The Boeing 747-8 also 2. But the 777X is now running 6, maybe 7 years behind schedule. Originally set for 2020, Boeing now targets 2026, though insiders warn it could slip into 2027. That makes the 777X one of the most delayed commercial aircraft programs in modern aviation history. For airlines, the frustration is growing. Emirates has already voiced concerns. Lufthansa has pulled it from its near-term fleet plans. And every extra year means lost efficiency, older aircraft, and delayed sustainability goals. Meanwhile, Airbus continues delivering A350s, widening its lead in the long-haul market. Beyond engineering and regulation, Boeing faces a massive supply chain problem. Thousands of parts, hundreds of vendors, all moving under constant pressure. Quality control issues, material shortages, and inflation have pushed costs higher and timelines further. Boeing has deliberately slowed production to stabilize output, choosing quality over speed. It's a safer path, but also a slower one. CEO Kelly Ortberg recently admitted there's still, quote, a mountain of work ahead. While no new design flaws have appeared, the sheer scale of certification and documentation remains overwhelming. And with the FAA now demanding complete transparency, Boeing can no longer fast-track its way to approval. For Boeing, every delay is measured in billions. The 777X program uses an accounting method that spreads development costs across early deliveries. But with each year of delay, those deliveries don't happen, meaning the losses pile up faster. Analysts estimate that another one-year slip could add up to $4 billion in additional charges. The company's stock price has become hypersensitive, dropping with every rumor. And airlines, forced to keep flying older jets, are spending more on maintenance. They're racing the very saving the 777. The 777X misses 2026 and into service in 2027 or later. The consequences could be severe. Major customers could demand compensation. Others might defer or cancel orders entirely. Worse, Boeing's credibility would take another hit, not just with regulators or investors, but with airlines themselves. Fleet planning is built on trust, and if airlines can't rely on Boeing's timelines, they'll look elsewhere. Every delay, 777X, means one more pay, 3, 50. The risk isn't just the loss, it's losing Boeing's benefits. The 777X is a real mission. It's a test of Boeing's ability. Can the company Can it deliver on promises that have been delayed for nearly a decade? If Boeing succeeds, the 777X could still become the world's most advanced twin-engine aircraft, quieter, cleaner, and capable of connecting cities farther than ever before. But if it fails, this could be remembered as the program that broke Boeing's record. Will Boeing finally deliver the 777X in 2026, or is another delay inevitable? If you enjoyed this deep dive into aviation's biggest delay, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next chapter in this story might just rewrite aviation history.